So, Colonel, perhaps you could speak about the capstone event for this exercise.
Yeah, of course. So today is our final day of the National Search and Rescue Exercise 2024, and it's a major air disaster. We call it a MAJAID in the SAR lingo. So we have a simulated crashed aircraft somewhere in the hills. So this exercise, like I said, simulates a crashed aircraft. We have about 45 victims on the ground, live people that are acting as casualties, either broken legs, punctured lungs, deceased victims, and ambulatory victims. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be launching every single SAR asset that we have on base today on this major air disaster situation. The goal is for the search and rescue technicians to triage the victims on the ground, the search platforms to pinpoint the location of the crashed aircraft, and for the helicopters to come in and to rescue the survival victims, bring them back to a hospital safe and sound.
The intent of today's scenario is to exercise our MAJAID capabilities on scene management, ground triage, and the prioritization of patient extraction to higher levels of care. This is not a medical treatment eval. It's a triage exercise. We're not doing live equipment drops to the MAJAID location there only. Any equipment you want dropped when you're fixing the aircraft is available on your aircraft now. See Warrant Officer Nick Dentakos right here. That equipment will be brought from your aircraft in our dually truck out to the scene. It will be there available for you then. For any no-duff emergencies, there will be a knock-it-off call, either on the SAR ground Oscar frequency or the air Oscar frequency. If on deck, hold your position. If airborne, loiter until further guidance is given. There is immediate ground transportation available on scene for any emergencies they may happen on the ground. Stand by for sit rep. Jazz 8320, Bombardier CRJ 705. What? Scheduled 10:15 arrival in the Comox from Vancouver. While established on the RNAV Zulu runway 30 in the CYQQ, tower noticed the aircraft deviate from approach to the south. ATC also lost radio comms and shortly after radar coverage in the vicinity of Courtney Airpark. Who? Unknown passengers on board. RCC is pulling the manifest from ATC. The aircraft is capable of carrying 78, including pilots and aircrew. Tasking, now, U.S. Coast Guard 2006, put the ready on the line, for possible aircraft crash 10 nautical miles south, CYQQ. Interrogative, an ELT has also been received by high flyers on 121.775, unknown location. We've also received a report from the RCMP of a civilian report of a low-flying aircraft flying west of Cumberland at low altitude, then disappearing behind the trees. That's brief complete.
Hey everybody, welcome to Go Bold. My name is Jody Atariwala and we are on Vancouver Island. And what you're seeing in the background is the capstone event of the 2024 search and rescue exercise that is being hosted by Canadian Forces Base Comox and 442 Squadron. I'm joined with Steph DeRossier.
That's right.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
Cool. Steph is a SAR tech with 442 Squadron, and he's going to talk us through what you're about to see. Steph, thank you so much for joining me.
Very glad to be here. So yeah, Sergeant Steph DeRosier, I'm a search and rescue team leader over at 442 Squadron. And behind me, you'll see some smoke. You'll see some patients on the ground. This is called a major air disaster exercise. So it's the last exercise of this 2024 SAREX held in Comox. It really brings all the skill sets together. This is simulating a 40-person plane crash. So this scenario is pretty realistic to our mandate. So the teams this morning got a phone call through the Rescue Coordination Center saying that a plane had crashed with around 35 to 40 casualties, and the plan was made to answer, and they were just sort of left to their own devices to make that plan and respond accordingly. The first aircraft on site was a C-130J from the Kodiak team in Alaska. The American teams have been playing with us all week and been an invaluable asset. They found the crash site first and acted as comms relay, comms platform, and on-scene commander for the first bit there. Then you will see through the footage Hercules from both 442 and 424 Squadron responding and dropping search and rescue technicians via parachute. Once these technicians land, their job is to assess the situation and start triaging these patients. So they'll go from patient to patient, spending about 30 seconds per, and giving them a color or a sort of a grade on their priority as far as extraction. You'll see green, which is your walking wounded. You'll see yellow, which is your wounded that cannot walk, so they're non-critical but non-ambulatory. You'll see red, which is your critical patient. And then you'll see black, which is your obvious deceased. You'll see gray, which is your missing. And you'll unfortunately see blue, which is deferred care, somebody that would take so many resources to stabilize that we opt to defer care so we can focus on, let's say, our red critical patients. So as this all unfolds behind me, you'll see a lot of busybodies going around doing their thing, assessing, extricating patients. It's all based on priorities and danger surrounding the casualties, danger for the SAR tech, danger for the casualty. And you'll see sort of a casualty collection point taking place near my left shoulder here, where after assessment, these patients are collected into one cohesive location with the gear that's accessible, and limited resources, limited personnel are tasked to stabilize as many patients as possible for extraction via rotary wing assets. In this case, you'll see American Dolphins, you'll see American Jayhawks, you'll see Canadian Griffins and Canadian Cormorant helicopters hopefully landing and extracting patients back to a field hospital on 442 ramp in 19 wing. There's also a scenario taking place there. If you have 40 patients, what do you do with them? Do you all bring them to your local hospital? Probably not. You're going to overwhelm them. So we're trying to get these entities some valuable training as well, as far as, okay, maybe we're taking 10 to Nanaimo, maybe we're taking a few to Victoria. So this is all happening in the background, and you'll see the footage. You'll hear me talk over some of it, and I hope that it clears some things up, and please enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Really appreciate it.
Progress down here, and probably on the radio with
So you can see on the front of the SAR techs, they have quite a lot of gear. So they'll have medical gear, any kind of survival gear, maybe even sometimes they'll carry oxygen. Most of the time though, they'll have the first drop it after the fact with bundles. At this point, the helicopter crews are probably being notified that they need to spool up to assist in the extraction.
So right now they're making a plan as to how they're going to get that casualty on the scoop litter, then onto the green gurney back to the casualty collection point. This can be a very simple process or very complicated and sweat-inducing, depending on the patient presentation. You can definitely turn it on. So you'll see that Masopropyl soccer and Masopropyl woods are taking the time to cover that casualty again with the aluminum tinfoil blanket. Hypothermia really is the enemy of survival in cases like this, so even a few minutes exposed to the elements can make a very big impact on your patient and his or her outcome. So it's worth actually taking the time, packaging that patient for transport properly. Looks like we have a minute, so the reason why I keep harping on hypothermia is there's something called the trauma triad of death, something that we are trained on virtually from day one. So you'll have coagulopathy on one side of the triangle, you'll have hypothermia on the other side, and you'll have acidosis on the other. They're all interrelated, they all affect each other, and they are all terrible for the patient. And hypothermia is the only one with the equipment we have that we can actually control, which is why we try to do everything we can to keep our patients warm.
That was interesting, them switching spaces or switching sides and carrying the patient.
Yeah, so the guy walking backwards
Is
doesn't have to
the entire field, yeah.
And something like this, the name of the game is, like longevity,
Right.
like a marathon.
Right.
You can see, it's kind of hard to see from here, but you can see a little bit of a box